Welcome to the Success Partner Podcast. I'm Daya Naef, your host and founder of The Success Partner. On this show, we dive into the stories of attorneys, business professionals, and entrepreneurs who have navigated the ups and downs of building successful careers and businesses. From the strategies they've implemented to the challenges they've overcome, we're here to uncover the insights that can help you on your own journey to success. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Welcome back, everybody, to the Success Partner Podcast. I am your host, Daya Naef, and today I have with me Kim Miller-Hershon, and I'm so excited to get to know her better. And she does coaching and consulting, and we met through Provisors. I know some of you are used to hearing that now, and always open to talk about that as well. But right now, we really want to get to know Kim. So, Kim, would you introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Sure. So I am a coach and a trainer, and I'm certified in DISC and 5 behaviors of a cohesive team. And I use those tools, DISC especially, in my practice to really help people know themselves better, to be able to communicate better with other people, and to be able to really have more influence by using these tools. So I'm mostly working with executives, a director and above, who really have one of two profiles. Either they've gotten themselves into a little bit of hot water. So, yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, what I love is that those leaders tend to be really, really good at what they do, and they just don't love managing people, right? They often say, like, why can't they just do their darn jobs, right? Like, you got a job description, like, just do it, right? Like, why do I need to supervise you? So I actually love working with those people because I think they find people to, at least managing people, to be difficult and kind of a pain, right? And I think with the right skills, that becomes much more intuitive for them and much easier. There's a structure and a process to communication and to managing and leading, which I think they didn't get taught that, right? So I love working with those people. I think the other profile of a person that I would work with is somebody who's just overwhelmed.
Okay.
They are in a leadership position, but they're still really actually doing way too much. So they have trouble delegating. And a famous Kim Miller-Hershon quote is, just because you delegate does not mean you do it well.
Yeah, that makes sense. And there's a difference between delegating and abdicating. And then it's very interesting how it sounds like you're really tackling it from a learn about yourself and learn about your team perspective. Do those go together, or are those two separate types of clients?
Yeah, actually, I love that quite intuitive. And B, I think you're exactly right that I actually really am not interested in working with anybody who is not willing to look at their own behavior. Like, for me, that's an integral part of how you show up. And I think it's really important too, because if you think about it, how many situations in the workplace could be like conflicts, could be avoided if everybody was willing just to own their own stuff? Right?
A lot of places, not just the
A
workplace.
lot of places, right? So it's definitely a part of the work that I do. Listen, I'm not a therapist, and if you need to work out like what happened in your past, then you need to go to therapy. That's not my job. But understanding the stories that you tell yourself about the way that you A, behave, and B, perceive communication from other people, that's like really important part of the work. Here's what I found, and you might have found the same thing, right? So, we all have a belief system, right? And the stories that we tell ourselves, and then we have someplace else that we'd like to aspire to be, whatever the goal of the coaching is, right? And here's the problem. We could establish all these steps, but if your beliefs are not congruent with this new level of growth, you will figure out a way to come right back down here so that it is congruent, right? So why don't we work on the stories that you tell yourself so that when you get the growth through coaching, you can sustain it?
Yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense. So many people rebound. They don't set the structures up in place with everything we do in life. Maybe
Right.
a health routine. We get into that great whatever our goal was, and then the next thing we know, we're back to where we
Right.
were.
Exactly. And, and those, right, like I think James Clear is really the one who, although it's not his study, but he popularized the idea of identity around, even like, right, the difference between saying, I'm going to try to exercise versus I'm a healthy person, right? And what your identity is informs your behavior.
Yeah, 100%. So share with us a success story, if you will.
Well, one of I think the first thing that comes to mind is just a favorite client. And I think it's important because I think it really speaks to I think what a lot of leaders think, which is listen, she's the COO of her company. So she's in a very senior position. But what happened was the she's not a great communicator at all times. And there were a bunch of people in the org staff that left en masse. And they just made her the bad guy, the bad gal, the bad person, and actually went to the press.
Oh
So
my.
there was, yeah, it was bad. And when the board decided to keep her and the CEO backed her, but they said you have to get coaching. And so I came in and the first thing she said to me is, I don't know how to be a different leader because I really, frankly, don't care what you did over the weekend. Right? Like she had this so what's really interesting is that she had this demeanor that was very hard, right? And she was all business. And she had this belief that the only way to counterbalance that was to be gregarious and outgoing and talkative and chummy. And she's like, if that's what it
Okay.
means to be a good leader, yeah, like I'm interested, right? And so I think what was so fun about working with her was really to expand what it really meant for her to be a better leader, right? Given who she is, what are the things that she could work on that felt authentic for her to be able to get to the next level? Well, about I don't know, 3 or 4 months later, we met on Zoom, and I'm on Zoom and she's not there. And I'm like, what is going on? So I sent her a text message and she said, she writes back and she said, oh my God, Kim, I totally lost track of time. I've got two people in my office. We were chatting away. And I'm just like,
Right. Whereas coming from someone else, that might not be a huge breakthrough, but for her, that was totally
right.
like the thing that she said was never going to happen. I think some people think that people are either or like born leaders, born communicators, born this, born that. How do we? Because we're in that same sort of boat. Like, how are we dispelling this myth for people?
Yeah. Again, I think it's really helping people to show up authentically. And here's the other thing, giving them the skills that they need. Because I think that's the other thing that we overlook is that, listen, it's fine to give somebody, like, okay, here's the path, like, here's the 5 steps to be a better leader, right? Here's the thing, what happens if you can't do step 3? Do you just not to get to be that leader, right? And here's the other thing that happens, there's all these gurus out there and all these successful people who say, not only am I incredibly successful, but look at all the social proof about all the other people who have done what I do, and they're equally as successful. So if you can't follow the 5 steps,
Hmm.
sorry, Daya, there must be something wrong with you, right? And I think where we come in is this idea of no, guess what? You get to be who you are. Now, does that mean that you don't, if you want to grow, that you don't have to make changes? Well, of course you do, right? But I think there's a difference between somebody seeing you, like really seeing you and saying, you're enough. Like who you are is enough. And let's figure out what your path is, right? Not what my path is, but giving you space to be you, and let's figure out together what that looks like. And I think really like that is a gift that is like my honor and privilege to give to people.
Yeah, I love that. I just also feel very privileged to walk beside someone on their journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Let me switch gears a little bit. I love all the bright colors. I love this artwork behind you. Can you share more about that?
Yeah. I think it's interesting, right? The bright colors have really become my brand, but I will tell you, as I like to say to people, my pajamas are bright colored, right? So this is not a Zoom, right? This
Yeah,
is not just
this is the real you.
yeah, this is just me, and the art is I made the art. It's There's actually 15. There's 15 of them up
Wow.
there. And it's a really interesting process when you do, I suppose, if you do even realistic art. But I think the idea of what is done look like, right? Which is a very interesting, because this is layer upon layer upon layer, right? Like you do it and then you let it dry and then you come back and you do more. And yeah, it's a really interesting creative process for me.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Yeah, I'm an artist as well, and that's always the trick point. You know, is it done? Is it not done? Am I happy with it? I'm never going to be happy with it.
Yeah.
I'm never going to be completely happy with it. You know, what's speaking to me today on this piece. So, well, Kim, it's been wonderful to have you on the show. Could you please tell our listeners how to find you?
Thank you. Well, first of all, I just want to say such a pleasure to meet you, and I am very honored to be on. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
And I can be found at Kim@KimMiller-Hershon.com. If you want more content, I post every day on LinkedIn. So that's a great way to sort of stay in touch with some, I was going to say thought leadership. I don't know, but just whatever's on my mind. I don't know if it's thought leadership, but I always seem to have a lot to say.
Thoughts, definitely.
So LinkedIn, and then, I do have, you have my email, but, www.KimMiller-Hershon.com. There's some content up there. If you want to get in touch with me, that's also a great way.
I love that. And that'll all be in the show notes so that we can keep in touch with Kim, because I'm excited about following her. I hope that you are too. So this has been another episode of the Success Partner Podcast. I'm your host, Daya Naef. Please like, subscribe, and stay tuned. Thank you for joining us on the Success Partner Podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation and found some valuable takeaways to apply to your own business journey. Remember, this show is brought to you by The Success Partner, where we help small law firms and business owners achieve unparalleled success through strategic guidance, operational excellence, and effective marketing. If you're ready to take your business to the next level, visit thesuccesspartner.net to learn more. Until next time, keep striving for success, and I will see you in the next episode.